Hello guys, welcome back to ArxangelRC. A bit of sad news today. A few days ago I went out to fly the Believer, seeing as I'm getting ready to do some comparisons between it and the new MyFlyDream Crosswind, and shortly after takeoff the plane crashed. It was really weird actually. All was going well, it was following its mission perfectly, when all of a sudden I noticed that the data on the OSD overlay stopped changing, and then the plane just banked to the right and went into a very tight turn. At this moment I switched out of auto mode on my Tyrannis and tried to take back control, but just wouldn't respond to my commands at all, and I just watched it go down until the video feed was lost. Luckily we had a Phantom with us and I was able to roughly estimate the location of the crash based on the last frames recorded on the DVR, so we flew the Phantom a bit in the area and quickly located the plane. Getting to it was a bit tough through the sunflowers, which also had some thorny plants between them, but I made it to the plane after all. Surprisingly and luckily, landing in the sunflowers had actually saved it from major damage, though it was missing a piece of foam here and there, but nothing I cannot live without. For the most part it looked pretty good, and even the Feiyu Tech gimbal I taped to the nose had survived. After recovering the plane I checked the logs and noticed that the log just suddenly ends at some point, with all parameters looking perfectly fine, so in my head there were two options for this. Either the autopilot had stopped working all of a sudden, or the power module has stopped working as such for some reason. Powering up the system again revealed that the power module is apparently working because the autopilot did initiate, but something was off since the OSD did not update at all. It was frozen, just like what happened before the crash. A power cycle fixed that, and next time the OSD was working okay, but it did make me doubt the autopilot board itself. Something was definitely off, and I don't think I'll be using this one anymore. I think I will be replacing it with an Omnibus F4 Pro with Arduplane on it or something else, but this Pixhack Nano is going into the retirement bin. So, about the future of this plane, I will have to go through a check to make sure all is good, and will make sure to get it back up in the air so I can do a proper comparison between it and the Crosswind I am building at this very moment, because sadly I have not flown the Believer as much as I would have liked, and I'm glad this accident didn't total it. Actually, now that I think back, this is by far not the first time this plane was about to get killed, although the previous times it was INAV's fault, and every time it was for various reasons. At first it was nosing the plane down every time I would throttle up, which almost killed it quite a few times until I could figure out what was wrong with it. Then, when launched before it locks onto enough satellites, it would not set a home point, so a failsafe resulted in it almost spiraling down in a tight turn at one place, which was super weird, and then at some point return to home would not throttle up when trying to gain altitude or just to fly home, which at some point would result in a tip stall, and this plane is no stranger to it under the right conditions. Thing is, in all of these situations I intervened to save the plane, as it was a problem with the firmware itself, not the board locking up. This latest incident though was entirely the hardware's fault, which is something that hasn't happened for me ever since the days of the APM 2.5 boards, which tended to just die mid-flight just because they felt like it at the time and were generally quite unreliable. Now, I am not saying all of these Pixhacks are like that. There are always bound to be defective units. It is possible mine might be one of those, but I'm really not willing to try it out again, at least not on this plane. Might put it on something I'm willing to sacrifice in case it all goes wrong, but that would happen at some time in the future. Don't have the time to deal with this right now. Right now, the Crosswind is a priority, along with a rather charming 600mm wingspan R-Wing that recently arrived, and I do intend to get it flying very soon, and with an autopilot no less. In fact, I think I will put one of the Omnibus F4 Pro boards in it for a few flights, running Arduplane of course, before moving the board over to the Believer, so I can get it airborne and ready for action to go head to head with the Crosswind. This will be a rather interesting duo, to be honest. Two planes designed purely for mapping. Really curious to see which one will come out on top, although they are running different motors and props. Might have to think about remedying that actually. In any case, this will be an interesting comparison, so stay tuned. Now, you can find links for the stuff shown or used in this video in the description below, and using any of them to buy literally anything from those websites would help support this channel, and you will gain my eternal gratitude, as that is how I make my living now. Another way you can support me is Patreon. The link is also there. If you have enjoyed this video and found it useful, please feel free to like, share and subscribe if you haven't already, and also consider following me on Facebook for more regular updates. I wish you happy flying, and until next time.